Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and I had such a great response to my don't like, don't watch list video that I wanted to go a little bit deeper with the topic. See, that video was a bit of a fun, silly way to explain why that argument makes no logical sense. Here, I want to make it clear exactly what that argument is, and the biggest logical problems with it, as well as address a lot of the situations people have brought to my attention in the comments in which they think it makes sense to use this argument. Firstly, I want to explain the difference between saying don't like, don't watch, and simply asking someone, why are you still watching this? Everyone has a reason as to why they watched something they dislike. Maybe they wanted to know if the show gets better at a point. Maybe they had time to kill and it was on. Maybe a sibling made them watch it. Heck, maybe they did it just to go on the internet to bash the show because they enjoy doing that over and over again. Some of these might sound like stupid reasons to keep watching a show, but that's what the person wanted to do. If you feel their reasoning isn't sound or they aren't providing any good criticism and you just don't like the way they express their opinion through videos or comments or whatever, then go ahead and call them out on that. Saying don't like, don't watch is silly because, well, I already went through all the reasons in the other video. But there is nothing wrong with asking someone why they are watching something, because it opens up a dialogue. It helps you determine the person's reason for watching the video, and then you can judge their reasoning and come to a conclusion on whether their complaints are legitimate or if you feel they're just whining. The big difference between don't like, don't watch, and why are you still watching is that the former is an argument meant to shut someone up and stifle criticism, while the latter is a neutral question to help you understand someone's reasoning. With don't like, don't watch, you're telling someone what to do, versus just questioning their reasoning and starting a conversation. Another thing I need to make crystal clear is that you watching something, deciding it sucks, and then turning it off is not at all what these videos are addressing. That's a decision that you made for yourself. That's not an argument, and that's not what I'm talking about. The don't like, don't watch argument is exactly the kind of argument that person B exhibits here. If person A says, I think SpongeBob should tone down how gross some of the gags are. It really ruins some episodes. And person B says, well, if you don't like SpongeBob, you should just stop watching it. This brings me to some hypotheticals you guys gave me in the comments. Hypothetical number 1. What if someone comes onto a YouTube channel just to bash the content creator over and over again? Would it be appropriate to use the don't like, don't watch argument then? Nope! Because the person could always reply with, don't like my comments, stop reading them. And by your own logic, through use of the don't like, don't watch argument, that person wouldn't be wrong. The argument is just going to turn into a long chain of telling people what they shouldn't have done, which is pointless. It's also silly to use the argument there because typically when people go to videos and leave hateful comments without any sort of criticism or just even the slightest bit of being fair, if they're just blatantly bashing and being insulting and mean for no reason, then in all likelihood, they didn't actually watch the video, which means telling them not to watch it because they don't like it is totally pointless, because they didn't watch it. And this gets me to another reason. The fact that somebody watched something isn't the issue you have. The issue you have is in how they reacted. In this case, it's understandable why someone would be upset because the commenter is just being a hurtful jerk. But pulling out the don't like, don't watch isn't actually getting to the heart of the issue here. My suggestion is to just ask them why they're here if they hate the channel so much. Maybe they actually have a good reason and they're just kind of rude about how they share their opinions. Sometimes they'll even come out and say that they just didn't bother watching, and that will expose these people as the hateful scum that they are. When it comes to very rude, jerky people like this on the internet, honestly, in a lot of cases, the only way to win is to just realize that these are baseless, uninformed comments made only to make others feel bad and don't follow any logic at all because the person just didn't care about being logical and just wanted to spread some hatred. And then maybe just ignore them or have a little fun with the troll if you like. It's totally up to you. Remember, just because you're using an argument against someone illogical doesn't make your reasoning logical. A bad argument is still a bad argument in this context. Hypothetical number 2. What if the person is just saying the same thing over and over again? If you watched every episode of a show just to complain about the same things again and again, This situation really isn't much different from the last one. The don't like, don't watch argument doesn't work because you aren't addressing the real problem you have. The problem here is that the person is being repetitive with their claims. That's a pretty good criticism there, and I'd suggest you say that. Also, if the person is touching on the same exact issue for every episode, it's possible that their complaints make no sense and they're just mindlessly bashing, in which case they probably wouldn't care about what you have to say anyway. Hypothetical number 3, and here's where things get a little bit complicated, so try and stay with me here. What if you were the one who created a piece of art, either a video or an illustration or a work of writing or something, and someone comments, I think that this is offensive and I think that this is amoral and possibly illegal and I think you should take this down because it's just not right. Would saying don't like, don't watch be appropriate in this scenario? No, because it's not that they don't like what you're doing, it's that they think that they are in the right moral-wise or legal-wise to say that your piece of art should be banned and censored. So then you wouldn't be saying don't like, don't watch, you'd be saying something more along the lines of, if this bothers and offends you so much, you probably shouldn't be here partaking in the media. And while that's a similar argument, it's definitely not don't like, don't watch, and I think that there is a discussion to be made about whether that's an appropriate response or not, but that's a whole nother can of worms. So why do people use the argument in these type of situations? Well, because it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction. The person said something they don't like or feel is inaccurate or rude or whatever about something that the argument user likes, and they don't like that. And so they want person A to shut up. And there's nothing wrong with wanting someone to shut up and thinking that person's opinion is idiotic or that they're rude and hurtful, but you can't tell someone to shut up. Well, you can, but it's not going to really do anything but make you look childish. Telling someone to stop watching something they don't like is exactly like telling them to just shut up. You aren't addressing their problems, you aren't pointing out what you disagree with, you are just saying, shut up. And if that's what you want to say, then so be it. Look, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to explain why I feel this argument is illogical. If you want to reply to someone with an illogical argument, that's up to you. Or if you disagree with me and you think this argument is logical, again, that's totally up to your perspective. Personally, if someone's opinion is just so against everything I believe when it comes to proper criticism, rather than telling them to just shut up, I just acknowledge that they have a right to say whatever they want and walk away. Freedom of speech is a thing. People do have a right to hold their opinions, even if it is for silly reasons. Sometimes it is definitely worth discussing with that person and questioning them and just trying to find out why they feel the way they feel about something. You never know, you could convince someone otherwise or just have an interesting conversation, but in very extreme examples when the person just really wants to hate on something and doesn't honestly want to think about it or discuss things in any sort of reasonable, logical, and polite way, then really the best option might just be to walk away. I'm not telling you you have to walk away from something if you don't like it, but I am saying that it is always an option there if that's what you want to do. I've thought long and hard about this, and I've read all of the comments that you guys left on the last video. And to be honest, there's only one exact circumstance in which I think it makes logical sense to say don't like, don't watch. The only time that I think it actually is a usable statement is in reply to someone else who already used the don't like, don't watch argument. And even then, it's not because I think the argument is good, it's in fact because you're using a loophole in the argument against the person who originally used it. I like to use the don't like, don't watch argument when people comment that on my videos because I like to point out the hypocrisy and how silly and self-defeating the argument is. That doesn't make it a good argument, but it does make it a good logical tool to use against people who use the argument. I'm certainly not infallible, and if you can think of any situation that I didn't address here where this argument actually makes some logical sense, please present it forward. I'd love to hear it. Thank you for your time. PIEGUYRULZ, out.